A very good morning to all the students. I hope this PPT is visible and I'm audible to all the students.
Yes, ma'am.
In today's session, we will begin with the fifth unit, that is portfolio evaluation as well as portfolio revision. So in this particular topic of portfolio evaluation and revision, we have certain calculations with regard to Sharpe's evaluation models. In terms of Sharpe ratio, then we are having trainers, and then we have Jensen's risk adjusted returns. Okay. It is a request for all the students to join the session as early as possible when the link is shared, so that there is no disturbance in between the session, because this Zoom app is just giving us a 40 minutes free session. It is not like that of Cisco WebEx, which is offering us for 50 minutes. So it is a request from my side for all the students to join as soon as the link is being shared. Okay. So in case of portfolio evaluation, so this is the last step after portfolio construction or after the aspect of portfolio management. Okay. So as I have told, it is the last step in the process of portfolio management. It basically involves after taking into account the portfolio analysis, selection, revision, evaluation, all these aspects are carried out with two different elements. One is to maximize the returns and the second one is to minimize the risk. That is the reason why every investor wants to construct the portfolios. Okay. And what is the objective behind this maximizing returns and minimizing the risk? Because every investor will undertake investment avenues because they have defined or undertaken certain objectives that they have determined for taking up various different investment avenues. And this portfolio management or portfolio construction is going to help them to set off the risk over the returns that they are going to get over a variety of individual securities that is built up in a particular portfolio. Okay. And that is why portfolio evaluation is very, very important, because it is helping us either to compare our portfolio with that of two other portfolios in the market, or it can be our portfolio returns. We are trying to compare it with the benchmark that is being set out. Okay. So that is the main purpose why portfolio evaluation is very important. So it is not only important at the individual level, but also, yes, it is very important even for the investment companies. It is also important in case of portfolio managers to know how the performance of individual securities is taking place in a particular set of portfolio, or how individual securities are performing in a group of securities. Yes. So now we will understand what is the meaning of this portfolio evaluation. Portfolio evaluation refers to the evaluation of performance of the portfolio, as I have already told, and it is essentially the process of comparing the return earned on a portfolio with the earned on one or more other portfolios or a benchmark portfolio. So comparison, evaluation is nothing but the other term that you can use synonymous to evaluation. It can be appraisal. Only construction of the portfolio is not important. Its objective will be met out when we get to know that how this particular portfolio is performing. If it has got a good positive returns in comparison, which is trying to meet out your inflation, then yes, necessary this particular appraisal is going to help you out. And if your evaluation is not trying to meet out the benchmark, in such a case, it becomes very important that you need to revise your portfolio, that we are going to see in the next upcoming sessions. Okay. So basically, in simple terms, portfolio evaluation is nothing but it is basically about the appraisal, how the individual securities are performing in a group of securities or in a portfolio. So basically we are just trying to compare the portfolios which are being constructed with that of the other portfolios which are being performing, which are not included in your particular group of securities, or it can be for your benchmark portfolio that we have seen in case of unit 4 with regard to portfolio management. Okay. Next, what are the functions that are being performed in case of portfolio evaluation? There are two important functions that are being performed. One is it is trying to measure the performance, and second one is it is trying to evaluate the performance. Now, most of the times these two terms look quite similar, but the meaning of each of that particular term is slightly different, because here measurement is trying to define in terms of accounting function, wherein it is trying to measure the return which is earned on a portfolio during the holding period or investment period. Now, what is the meaning of holding period or investment period? For example, if you are invested for a period of 1 year, so this particular 1 year is called as the holding period or it is called as the investment period. So here you want to measure your returns for a period of 1 year, and that you are measuring in terms of accounting returns. So how much over and above the cost that you have paid for the securities are you able to fetch a good returns apart from the cost that you have paid for that particular security or for investments. Okay, so that is called as performance measurement, is more confined to accounting function. But whereas in case of second point, in case of portfolio function, you're having performance evaluation or the appraisal. Now this appraisal is goes little beyond that of only accounting function, wherein it is going to address certain of the issues, whether the performance was superior or inferior. Now what is meaning of superior or inferior? Whether you are able to meet the benchmark returns or you are able to earn a higher returns, or whether the returns are being very minimum, okay, where you are just able to cover up the cost, or it is into negative. So here whether the performance was superior or inferior, and one more important is whether the performance was due to skill or luck. Okay, now these are the important terms which is important to define the portfolio evaluation or the returns that we are going to earn. So most of the time both work in collaboration. All the time, not necessary that individual, though having enough of skill, will be always able to fetch a good return. Not necessary. Sometime even the factor of luck would also help out in generating a good returns for the portfolio. So this concept of luck is all in terms of market risk, okay, that takes place suddenly when there are increase in the share prices. You will sell it and earn a good returns, or at most certain uncertain events there is extreme crash of the stock market. So sometimes all the time skill would not work. At certain times even luck factor is also very important for your returns in the portfolio. So these are the two important functions that are performed in case of portfolio evaluation. One is to take care of the returns that they have earned for the accounting period or the investment period, and second one is your evaluation, whether you have made proper analysis through the necessary knowledge that you have acquired for analyzing the stocks of various different companies and then you have invested, or randomly you have made certain investment without any knowledge and you are able to earn good returns. So that would be a factor of luck. So these are the two important functions that are contributing towards the portfolio evaluation. Okay, moving on to next, why it is important or why there is a need that we have to carry out evaluation of the portfolio. Now it is very important at every periodic intervals an individual investor should take care how each individual securities are performing in a portfolio. If they're getting positive returns, or if they are at least able to cover up the cost for which they have paid, yes, they would be retained for certain point of time. If it is giving negative returns, then definitely it would be taken out from the basket of the portfolio and it will be revised in sense it the money would be transferred to some other set of securities. So that is important why portfolio evaluation or the need is important. Okay, now when we are saying evaluation, investments can be carried out by individual themselves, that is individual investors, or if it is not possible with the due skill on the part of individual investors, where they can have confidence on themselves that they can invest at their own risk, then they can go with the help of the mutual fund companies, where you're having the portfolio managers. So with their professional knowledge, they are going to help you out for making a right investment as per the objectives which is set by the investors, as well as depending on the level of risk which an individual investor wants to take. And at the same time, you're having even investment companies who are going to invest on your own behalf towards various different securities, so that you will get a good positive returns. Okay, so on all these three aspects, for individual investors, for mutual fund companies, as well as investment companies, it is important they should carry out portfolio evaluation. Now, as far as self evaluation, so that is being categorized into three different aspects. One is through self evaluation, second one is the evaluation done by the portfolio managers, and second one is the evaluation which is being carried out by mutual funds. Okay, now at periodical intervals, every individual investor will make necessary evaluation of his or her own investments which are being made, so that they are able to construct and manage their own portfolio of securities. So there they want to identify if they have committed any mistakes in the selection of the portfolio of securities. So when they get to know it is a mistake, they get to know it is a mistake when they feel that they are not able to fetch a good positive returns and the returns are negative. So in that case, they want to evaluate towards their skill that they have utilized in making the investments. Second one is about the evaluation of portfolio managers. So these are basically the mutual fund or the investment companies. So they will create a different portfolio with different objectives, which is aiming at different set of investors. So each such portfolio will be given certain different professional managers are being assigned, and they are responsible towards the investment decisions regarding the portfolio that is entrusted to each of them. So in this case, it is a total responsibility on the portfolio managers, where they have to take care how the portfolios which they have selected for investment on behalf of the investors, so they have to take care that it is performing well in relation to the total analysis of the market scenario or the economic factors which are more of external in nature. And the last part is all about evaluation of mutual funds. Now we are having various different mutual fund companies ranging from private to that of the public sectors. So as there would be a lot of competition among these investment companies, so even it is important they need to make necessary analysis how their company is performing in the market, because as individual investors we are going to select those particular companies which is actually doing extremely very well, and it is going to benefit you in terms of positive returns. Okay, and that is why they are going, every individual investors tries to find out those particular investment companies which is offering you attractive returns, where the risk is minimum, there is very high level of safety, and you're having prompt liquidity. So these are the elements on which every individual investor, as a for that matter even company, is looking at to offer it towards its investors. So that is the need why portfolio evaluation is very important. Okay. Now moving on to the next aspect with regard to evaluation perspective. Now there are different perspectives for which an individual investor is going to evaluate. It can be from the point of view of transaction view. Now when we are speaking about transaction view, it is all about buying as well as selling of securities. So whenever a security is bought or sold, the transaction will be evaluated with regard to its correctness and with regard to its profitability. Second aspect is all about the security view. Now, when we are speaking of security, every individual investor wants to see to it that the principal amount is very safe, and along with the principal amount they expect certain sort of interest as well as dividend at the end of the holding period. So this would be the second aspect how the evaluation has been carried out. And in these days if you see, the dividend rates as well as the interest rates have been totally gone down. So yes, so at least they are ready to keep the investment in those companies where the principal amount will be safe. At the same time, it will be backed up with certain minimum returns in terms of interest and dividend. And last one comes is with regard to portfolio view. Now, when it comes to portfolio view, we are not having a segregation of individual securities, but rather it is going to be a combination of carefully selected securities in such a way where you want to reduce the risk of the investment to the minimum. So here the evaluation is going to be from the point of view of the portfolio rather than that of the individual securities. So this is going to be all about three different perspectives from which an individual is going to evaluate the portfolio. One is transaction view, is all about individual securities. Even security view is going to be in terms of individual securities. But when we are speaking portfolio view, it is going to be a collection of all the securities which are being selected with due care and skill, so that if there is any risk for any of the security, that would be set off by the other set of securities. Next, we have called as risk adjusted measures. Now, this particular concept of risk adjusted measures is very important. Now, in this case, we are having two different aspects of risk. Now, basically, when we are speaking about risk, it is all about variability of return. Okay. Variability of return is nothing but it at times the risk would be volatile into nature, or we are not able to generate a return which is being expected. So that variability is nothing but is defined in terms of risk, and that is why risk refers to variability of return. And we can compute risk in two different aspects. Now when it is total risk, we are trying to define it in terms of standard deviation. And when we are speaking, and which is collaboration of two types of risk. One is diversifiable and the second one is undiversifiable. So the summation of diversifiable and non-diversifiable or undiversifiable risk is collectively called as total risk, and it is symbolically being represented as standard deviation. Then you are having non-diversifiable risk, or you can also call it as it is subject to market risk, where the risk cannot be diversified because it is directly linked towards the macro level environment. Okay, where you cannot diversify the risk but rather you need to adjust your investments accordingly. Now this non-diversifiable risk is measured in terms of beta. So beta is one particular tool or a measure which is helping us to calculate the level of security change or the movement, okay, that is taking place because of market risk. So beta coefficient is a tool which is used to measure or calculate non-diversifiable risk. Okay, so to assess the performance of a fund, we must compare its risk adjusted return with that of the stock market index. Now we will understand what is the meaning of this risk adjusted measures. Now all the time the investment will not be always subject to returns, or the measurement of the return of a portfolio or a security is not only confined to returns, but there is also another element which has to be taken into consideration along with return, which is called as risk. So it means your returns are adjusted towards the risk, that is called as risk adjusted measure. So you cannot eliminate the factor of risk for returns. So both go hand in hand. If you are having a higher returns, it is expected that you are ready to take a higher level of risk, or it can be vice versa to a certain extent. But most of the time when the risk is very minimum, you have either a constant return or the return is very low or nominal. So here what it is saying, when we want to assess the performance of the fund, we have to compare the risk adjusted return with that of the stock market index. Now, yeah, here you're having two different elements. One is called as risk-free rate, or you can also call it as the zero risk. and you're ready to accept a nominal rate of return. So with a risk-free rate, you cannot expect a highest return. But yes, if you're ready to take a higher risk, you will be rewarded or you will be paid a higher return. So that is going to be in terms of risk premium. Now, when it comes to risk premium, it is going to be over and above that of the risk-free rate. Because you're ready to take a higher risk, you will be rewarded or compensated for a higher return. So this risk premium, symbolically we say it as expected return minus the risk-free rate. So you will get the concept of risk premium that we are going to see in the part of calculation. So risk adjusted measure is very important because in the calculations we are going to make use of total risk of standard deviation, as well as we are going to make use of non-diversifiable risk, that is beta. We are going to use the term of risk-free rate. At the same time, we are going to use risk premium, which is nothing but excess of the expected return over the risk-free rate. So the extra risk which you are ready to take is called as risk premium, and that has to be compensated with a higher returns. Now we will come to the important aspect of portfolio evaluation. It is all about evaluation models. Now these are the evaluation models that are being designed for evaluating your portfolio, how the securities are performing in a particular group of portfolios that can be measured or it can be evaluated with these three important models. One is called as Sharpe measure, second one you're having trainers, and the third one is Jensen. Now in case of portfolio evaluation, so these are the three important models on which we are going to look into the calculations, and which is totally based on the formula. Okay, now we will go on to each of these particular models in detail. Okay, now the first one is Sharpe measure, or it is also called as Sharpe's performance index. Now don't get confused. Sharpe index model is completely different and Sharpe performance index is completely different here. So this Sharpe's performance index is more subject to portfolio evaluation. But in case when you're having Sharpe index model or Sharpe optimal portfolio, so that is more trying to confine with regard to construction or the management of the portfolio. Okay. Now, as far as Sharpe's performance index is concerned, it is measuring the risk premium. As I've already told, risk premium is nothing but expected return minus the risk-free rate. So the difference of these two is nothing but the extra risk, or it is also called as the risk premium of the portfolio. Okay. So this particular meeting will end in 10 minutes. So we will try to cover up as much aspect we can in a span of 10 minutes. And then rest of the things we will carry out in tomorrow's session at the same time. Okay. And I guess probably today Zavalkar madam will be engaging online class. Okay. With regard to subject of innovations in accounting. Okay. So Sharpe index is measuring the risk premium of the portfolio in relation to the total amount of risk. Now this total amount of risk is going to be the combination of diversifiable as well as undiversifiable risk. Okay. So this you can see in this particular formula, that is RP minus RF divided by standard deviation of P, that is standard deviation of portfolio. So risk premium is the difference between the portfolio's average rate of return and the risk less rate of return, or you can also call it as risk premium is the return in excess of the risk-free rate of return. Okay. So after this, we will make a comparison with that of Sharpe as well as with that of a trainer. So Sharpe's performance index is giving more relevance towards the total risk of the portfolio. It means it is considering the diversifiable risk as well as it is also considering undiversifiable risk. Okay. So this formula is important because it is going to help us for calculating the problems which are there on the basis of evaluation models. Okay. So we will understand what is this formula all about. So RP is nothing but portfolio's average rate of return. RF is riskless rate of return. Standard deviation of P is nothing but the standard deviation of the portfolio return. So the larger is the ratio that you get from the Sharpe's performance index. So better is the fund which is being performed. Okay. So how are we going to interpret this Sharpe's performance index? It is nothing but higher the Sharpe ratio, the better is the performance. So you will have a set of 2 or 3 different portfolios which are you are being given. On that basis, you're going to apply that particular formula, and whichever portfolio is giving you the highest ratio, it is interpreted that that particular portfolio is having a better performance, or you can select that particular portfolio. So what is the advantage of this Sharpe's ratio? Here it is measuring the volatility of the portfolio returns without linking it to a benchmark. Okay, so it is not having a particular standard ratio which is being defined on which you can try to measure your portfolio returns with respect to that of volatility. Now volatility is nothing but variation or the change in the risk. Okay, so that is the merit. So you're not having any benchmark on which your portfolio returns has to match to it, okay, in relation to that of the volatility. So what it is saying, it measures the volatility of portfolio returns without linking it to benchmark. So it is not having any sort of standard ratios which are being defined. Now what is the demerit? It considers total risk, which is a disadvantage. It is considering diversifiable risk as well as non-diversifiable risk. So in this case, even though diversifiable risk can be diversified by taking out from a particular portfolio which is not performing well, but that is also considered in case of Sharpies, and that is why it is considering total risk. But rather only non-diversifiable risk is relevant, because you cannot manage or control that particular risk. But whereas when it comes to diversifiable, you can control in the form of process of diversification. So that is the demerit in case of Sharpe's performance index. So I'll just repeat, in case of Sharpe's performance index, it is trying to find out the risk premium, and it is giving more relevance towards the total risk with regard to the total volatility or variability in terms of return. So higher is the ratio of Sharpe's performance index, better is the fund that is being performing. So that is the interpretation that is drawn under Sharpe's portfolio. Next, we are having with regard to trainer's performance index. Now, in case of trainer's performance index, also it is considering risk premium. That is, if you see in this particular formula, that is RP minus RF. But very important term that is used here is non-diversifiable risk. Now, non-diversifiable risk, the tool or the measure that is used to calculate non-diversifiable risk is all about beta. It means in this model, risk means only non-diversifiable risk, and it is measured in terms of beta. So this beta coefficient is treated as a measure of undiversifiable, or you can also call it as systematic risk. Okay, so it is nothing but it is a reward towards the risk premium. So risk premium is RP minus RF. So what is the important difference in Sharpe's performance index and that of the trainer? Trainer is making use of only non-diversifiable risk. So trainer feels that only non-diversifiable risk is relevant, that should be taken into consideration to reward towards the risk premium. But in case of Sharpe, they consider non-diversifiable as well as the diversifiable risk. So that is the important difference which we can see in case of Sharpe as that of the trainer. So the numerators RP minus RF is same, but here you're having only non-diversifiable risk, that is beta. But in case of Sharpe's performance index, you're having standard deviation, which is including systematic risk as well as unsystematic risk. Now, what is the interpretation? The interpretation will remain similar to that of Sharpe's, okay, where the larger is the value that you derive in case of trainer's performance index, better is the fund that is being performed. So here, larger trainer's performance index is more desirable because it has earned more risk premium per unit of systematic risk. Now, what is the advantage here? It is going to measure the volatility or variability in terms of non-diversifiable risk, that is beta, and it considers that this is the only risk which is relevant and which we can measure. And what is the disadvantage here? So beta values are the function of the past, and this approach has its limitation. It says that the beta values are not the current values that are being taken into consideration, but these are certain past prediction values that are being taken, which might not give us a clear picture with regard to volatility towards the non-diversifiable risk. So that is the interpretation under trainer's performance index. So I hope I'm clear with that of Sharpe's performance index as well as trainer's performance index. Now we will move on to the third aspect, which is nothing but Jensen's performance index. So this is the last evaluation model under portfolio evaluation. Okay. Now in case of Jensen's performance index, this is a measure which is being given by Michael Jensen, and that is why this performance index is named against the name of Michael Jensen, which is called as Jensen's performance index. Now it is mentioned as a measure of absolute performance because a definite standard is set and against that the performance is measured. Now this term is important. When you see in case of Sharpe and that of trainer, there is no benchmark which is set. But here we are trying to measure the performance in terms of the expected return, or we call it as RP. Okay, so in the later sessions, we will understand the calculations and how Jensen's performance index is different from that of Sharpe as that of trainer. Here, definite standard is nothing but the expected return is calculated over and above that of the expected return under capital asset pricing model. So that differences will help us to know whether the performance index is positive, whether it is earning a good returns or whether the returns are negative. Okay, and this particular standard which is being set, it is totally based on the manager's predictive ability. Okay, so this is how Jensen's performance index is different, because one additional aspect that is included here is it is a measure of absolute performance, because it is going to compare the standards with that of the calculations of the returns on capital asset pricing model, and this standard is totally based on the manager's predictive ability. Now this is going to be the Jensen model. Okay, so the basic model of Jensen, and you're having 2 or 3 different formulas on which you can calculate the fund's performance as per Jensen's performance index. Okay, so here you're having the basic model is expected return is equal to alpha plus beta into RM minus RF, wherein RP is the average return of portfolio, RF is the riskless rate of interest, alpha is the intercept that we will see in the problem, then beta is a measure of systematic risk, and RM is the average market return. Okay, so when we are saying this intercept in case of alpha, it is representing the forecasting ability of the manager, and this forecasting ability is compared with that of the benchmark which is being set by the portfolio managers. So then